Ladies, gentlemen, and other of the Tau VAR, welcome to our stream for today, where we are going to be reviewing all of the Tau lists coming in the World Championship of Warhammer. Quite literally, the best and brightest Tau players from around the world. Now, I've got all of their lists up. I've checked that I haven't missed anybody. If I am still wrong, I apologize. But this is going to be a very, very exciting World Championship of Warhammer because the game at the moment hasn't really ever been in a better place, and this falls on the back of our army rule getting updated, giving Tau a new breath of life, which has long been needed. First and foremost, I want to say a massive thank you to all of my patrons and YouTube members who make every video possible, including joining us, Novastack or Novastatch. I am sorry if both of those are wrong because it's obviously Novastash because you got an awesome soup catcher sitting on that top lip. Thank you for joining into the YouTube membership. If you'd like to join them, check out all the stuff down below, whatever. Let's get into our list of players. Now, this is in absolutely no particular order, but we are starting with Vasto Tovar, who has gone for a Triptide Kroot Hammer Blow. This is a Kroot hunting pack list. One thing I will say from having like a quick look through every single one of the lists is that we are seeing a decent amount of spread across our detachments with a more heavy leaning into Moncar, which, you know, kind of makes sense in the current meta. A lot of people are really prioritizing that hit hard, hit early, and try and end a game before it can get into problematic spaces. But we are seeing people trialing a bunch of different stuff. I'm not there, so not all the best players in the world. Got him. Didn't you just get yourself? If the World Championships of Warhammer is all the best players in the world and you're not there, doesn't that... self-burns are rare, honestly. Like, good job. Good self-burn. Okay, so, starting off, Kroot Trail Shaper with the Kroot Hawk Flock, meaning that he's going for a bit of deep strike denial. Unit of Kroot Carnivores in a 20-man with double Tang and Bomb Launcher, wanting to cover a fair amount of distance. Then rocking a Railhead with Smart Missile Systems. Kroot Faststalker unit. Triple Krootox Rampages in 6-mans. No surprise whatsoever to see these guys. These are, especially in Kroot Hunting Pack, with a 5-up invulnerable save against ranged, 6-up against melee, is more than you think on a T6 5-wound body. And then you've got the option to reactive lone op 18 inches them, as well as a few other little awesome buffs. Like if you get a unit of rampages in, we've seen quite a few lists going very, very vehicle heavy, especially into like Knights matchups, Chaos Knights, Gladius Marines, that sort of stuff. All of them utilizing these big vehicles in order to get their work done. EMP grenade in either shooting phase or fight phase, -1 ballistic skill or -1 weapon skill respectively. Really, really powerful. Double 3-man Krootox Riders. These guys for 90 points, what you're getting is essentially a crisis unit, but without the rerolls. What they do get, however, is +1 to hit and potentially +1 to wound if they're below starting and then respectively below half strength, which is easier to get than you might think with the availability of things like the grenade stratagems and like Kroot Faststalker unit up, or just shoot them first, only expecting to maybe chip off a wound, and then everything else has +1 to hit. It is really, really great. It's also why the rampages in this detachment are also very good, because mortals on the charge lower their starting strength, and then when they go in, they're +1 to hit. If you do enough damage on the mortals on the charge, let's say you high roll like a madman, you're potentially also getting +1 to wound and taking something out that your opponent might not have expected. Rampages hitting on 2s with sustained hits on the fists, amazing. Amazing. Then we've got Triptide backing it up. This should surprise nobody. After the changes the Riptide gun got, going to Strength 9 and Strength 10 on both the standard and overcharge profile respectively, nobody should be surprised to see Riptides back in the meta. They're a 2-up armor, 4-up invulnerable save, really, really great body for 190 points. The main thing that was holding it back before, yeah, it's a little on the expensive side, but the main thing that was holding it back was its main gun at Strength 8 just didn't do what we needed it to do. Then we've got, they're rocking Twin Smart Missile Systems, And I think I saw one of them with a twin fusion blaster. So obviously this Riptide is expecting to go a little bit aggressive. The other two to, get their value over the course of a game and chip models off and whatever. This absolutely makes sense with like GSC, Guard, Eldari being very, very big in the meta. Then you've got a singular Skyray and then double stealth suits. Skyray and double stealth suit means you've got 3 units with Marker Light, which means that the Riptides are basically never going to be firing without Ignores Cover and +1 ballistic skill, which is really great. So, best of luck to Vazto. Show them how good the Crude Hunting Pack is. Now, at the end of all of this, I am going to be reviewing and sort of like, not tier listing, but I will give a little bit of a rating for where I feel the lists are. Now, a caveat that I will put on that, I'm going to reiterate it when I get to that point. It is not a marker of like, this person is going to win, this person's going to fail, whatever. It's reviewing things in terms of like the tools that I see in the list, what sort of angle I can see them going for. And a really big caveat is a player skill will play more of a role in every single game than any units that you take. So people making misplays or just playing outside of their mind will absolutely happen and can take a list that everybody sleeps on and makes it into an absolute monster, or takes a favorite and has it stumble in some way. All right, so our next list is Morgan Timpey. The perfect list name just barely pushes the boundaries of being acceptable on a live stream. What? All right, fair enough. So this one is our first Montcar list that we're going to be reviewing. So this is double Enforcer battlesuits, one with Strategic Conqueror, one with Exemplar of the Montcar. We are seeing 4 by missile pods and 2 gun drones on each of them. They are going for raw output. Now, the Enforcer battlesuit choice actually makes a lot of sense. You save points over a Cold Star. You're giving up the +2 to move, but because of the first 3 turns, which are probably the most impactful for the style that he's going to play, you've got Assault anyway. So what he is opting into is that I can push my Crisis out and take a hit with the -1 AP and not just get instantly deleted, potentially. I mean, roll's going to roll. All right, and you've got this unit which is going to be having that bonus into turn 4, which means this one is likely going to be the early poke out. This one is going to be playing the long game. Not to say that it's going to be like hiding by any means, but probably not assuming the risk that this other one may have to earlier on, depending on how the game goes. 2 units of Fire Knives. This should surprise absolutely nobody. Missile pods, because they're amazing, and firing 2 units into 1. You can spend 1 CP to get an additional -1 AP. Singular Ghost Kill to play Distraction Carnifex. Unit Recruit Carnivores, Unit Recruit Hounds, a Pathfinder unit, just the one with Ions. Then we've got Triptide, should surprise absolutely nobody. Twin Smart Missile Systems being the choice of support system for them. Double Skyray, triple Stealth Suit, and double Vespid. So this list is... I reject the idea of standard, but this is a very front-to-back tower list where you're going to be trading early with the Ghost Kill and with the Pathfinder unit, and then you're going to have the Crew Carnivores sticky up and then run out and do their trading, and you've got just an excellent base of fire behind it, being the double Fire Knife unit and the triple Riptide, as well as the double Skyray for maybe some of the best anti-tank in the game. This platform is actually really, really great. And then a ton of mission play as well between the Pathfinder unit, the Crew Carnivores, the Crew Hounds, triple Stealth Suits, and then double Vespid for the uppy downy. This list is going to be able to do everything that you could possibly want it to do. So really great list. Best of luck to Morgan. And let's have a look at Roger Boyra, also running the Montcar. This one I can immediately see some differences. We've got a Fireblade with Strike Swiftly, which means he will not be mounted in a Devilfish most likely. Commander Farsight and Dark Strider. Then we're looking at a Breacher team, a Devilfish, Ghost Kill, Singular, just to be able to play the Distraction Carnifex role. Then we've got double Ion Cannon Hammerhead with Accelerator Burst Cannons. Really awesome profile, especially with lethal hits and some of the bonuses that a Hammerhead can get. the ion cannon still hits like a truck. Obviously, it gains a bit of strength when you do it in something like auxiliary Carter, where you can get +2 to strength, or experimental prototype Carter, where you can go that. But honestly, in Montcar, you really don't need it, especially if you've got enough other supporting elements. Crew Carnivore unit, you're going to see these guys a lot. I'm almost going to go out on a limb and say that we will almost not see a list without Crew Carnivores. And if we don't, it's going to be for a very, very specific list design. Singular unit of Pathfinders with Ions. Double Piranhas, I am so glad to see one of my favorite units in here with the scout move that they've got. And then Assault to be able to get your fusion up into range, throw the Seekers, hit them with Melter 4. There is a lot to love about the Piranhas. Then we've got Triptide backing it up with Twin Smart Missile Systems, Singular Skyray, double Stealth Suits. Again, just a really great front-to-back unit. And really going into some of the tech that, if you look at my channel, we kind of popularized about a year ago, I think it was now, which came from Kyle Grundy showing it off. Darkstrider sitting in the Devilfish, Scout moving it forward, having a unit of Pathfinders that can basically just block out the entire middle of the board. You can see they've got the recon drone for infiltrate. And this package is able to aggressively screen, then get back into the Devilfish with Darkstrider, and then have the Breacher team, after the Fireblade gives out the double scout move, walk up, the Pathfinders get out, Darkstrider potentially also gets out to have the Deep Strike Denial bubble, Breachers get in, and they use it as a leapfrogging piece to move further than they ever could. So really great front to back list. He's got a ton of damage. Really keen to see how this one goes as opposed to the last Montcar list. Obviously, the Fire Knives are just like with full rerolls to hit and lethal hits. They can threaten almost anything. So yeah, really, really keen to see the difference in that. Roger Boyra, best of luck to you. And let's move on to our next list. After I have a look at chat, even though I don't enjoy various units in Tau and avoid putting them in my armies, these lists and your videos explaining them really do teach me how to build a list that does well. Oh, thanks, Tiny Traveler. I appreciate that. So it's appreciated each time you do this live stream. Cheers from Josh sitting in Thunder Bay. All the best, buddy. Thank you for joining us. Everybody else, if you're enjoying it, obviously that little like button on YouTube added in a hype button, which adds to the algorithm. That stuff is really, really appreciated for getting into more eyes. But let's go into our first Retaliation Carter list, which has Commander Farsight sitting as the Warlord, and I actually can't, no other commanders. This list is either going to be the most insane cook we have ever seen, or it's going to fall a little bit flat. Retaliation Carter rocking a Breacher team as well. Now, for anybody that's looking at this and like, oh, Breachers don't get anything, that's fine. Breachers is a standalone package, and I've been saying this for a while. They will get their value regardless of their detachment. They're one of the few data sheets that we have in our book that I would, hand on heart, say is what GW should look at for their peak design, where the Breachers are just great no matter where they are. Yeah, they're even better if they get things like lethal hits or sustained hits or whatever else. Anybody's going to be like that. But a unit that comes out, hits on 3s natively, 2s with guiding, rerolls wounds if the opponent's on an objective, which is exactly where you push the Breachers to play, that is really, really good, especially for a 100-point unit. This is the battle line that your girl tells you not to worry about. All right, Crit Carnivore unit, Pathfinder team, where we have ion rifles. Yep, makes sense. Going for shield drones. Oh, damn. Wute all day just contributing to Diaper Fund. Thank you so much for the $10, dude. I really appreciate it. Everybody show some love for Wute in the chat, if you please. Then a second Pathfinder team with Grav Inhibitor. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit. This is something that you would have seen. There's a video I put out for the Immortal Tau list. Now, I have been such a massive, massive fan of Pathfinders with Grav Inhibitor drones. Now, if you can take both of them because you've got some other form of infiltrate that you're really, really keen on, then fine. But my list that I'm going to be taking to a teams tournament in the middle of November actually includes this same tech, where I've got one with the recon drone, one with the grav inhibitor. Now, I haven't gone for the shield drones because I prefer the gun drones for output, but the shield drones are also kind of amazing as well. It makes your unit into a 13 wound unit. But grav inhibitor, for units that need to go and stand on objectives at certain points in the games, either early and aggressively or later on after you've done a bit of trading, and charges at that point in the game matter so much because, you know, in the early parts of the game, you can be a little bit more conservative, you can not run out and still not throw the game away. Later on in the game, you're at the point where you're like, shit, if I don't get these 10 points right now, this is just going to this is going to get away from me. Grav inhibitor, that whole unit, not just the chassis, the whole unit is -2 to charge, which also means I've been doing things like if I'm worried about rush melee armies, I wrap my broadsides or my riptide or something that I don't want them to touch in the Pathfinders, and even though they could pile in and get to the riptide or the broadsides to kill the Pathfinders and consolidate into them, that unit is -2 to charge because the Pathfinder's sitting there, because they are not allowed to not designate the Pathfinders, because they have to end the charge move within one of the Pathfinders to get to the unit that they actually want to get to. This unit, I think, is slept on a little bit, and I would love to see some more people pick it up. The other thing I want to point out, GigaChad went for rail rifles. That's not something we've been seeing a ton, and I'm really keen to follow this player. So who are we looking at? Sid Sector. Keen to see how this pans out for him. Then we've got double stealth suit unit. Not seeing anything that's going to blow you away. Mark shield drone, all the usual accoutrement. Then we've got a single unit of Vespid. Now we get into the battle suits. I've just seen something down the bottom that's made me very excited. Sunforge battle suits, Ghost Keel, double Riptide, Storm Surgeon, Sunshark Bomber. I'm just gonna zoom in so all of you can see that right above my head. Storm Surge, Sunshark Bomber. This is either the most insane cook that we have seen, or he about to have a real bad time. Now, it could be that this is a player that's like, yeah, I'm going there, I'm not expecting to win, there's like the best players in the world there, I'm going to have some fucking fun, and I'm going to make some Tau YouTuber lose his mind over nothing. Which, you know, fair enough. And if it's a troll, fair play to him. But I can't help, lover of Reptar that I am, I can't help getting excited seeing this and really hoping for the best for this player. I've been let down a bunch of times by the Storm Surge, but if there is a Tau GigaChat out there that can make it work, I will be very, very happy. The Sunshark is also an interesting one. He's just going to drop it in behind people. Now, the question that I get to is this list, why Retaliation Carter rather than something like, you know, Kalyon or Montcar? Because all of these other units would benefit from it. But I have to think that he's going to assume that he's trading early with all this other stuff, and then the Sunforge Ghost Kill double Riptide is going to benefit from it, because the Storm Surge doesn't have the battlesuit keyword. It can't benefit from Retaliation Carter. So I'm going to put this one for the moment in the little bit troll category, but with the highest hopes that this player makes it work. Sid Sector, best of luck to you at the World Championship. Let's move on to our next list. This one is Steven Salazar. Whoops, I forgot my crisis suits. Kalyon, Carter Fireblade, Shadow Sun as the Warlord. That is it for our characters. Single Breacher team, single Devilfish, Ghost Kill playing the Distraction Carnifex role. Single Railhead with Smart Missile Systems, Crew Carnivore unit. I told you guys you'd see it everywhere. Two-man Crutox Rider unit. These are extremely efficient no matter where you put them. For the points you get, they are amazing. We've got 1 and 2 Pathfinder teams. Ion Rifle and Recon, Ion Rifles and Recon, double Piranha, which makes me very, very happy to see, Triptide, which will surprise nobody, Twin Smart Missile Systems, Skyray, double Stealth Suit, and a Vespid unit. I would call this a pretty standard front-to-back Tau list. This is looking to do one thing and one thing well, which is play keep away with some of the more expendable units while also being able to get where they need to go with the Vespid, and having some extreme late game potential. So in the early game, and I did this a lot when I took double Tiger Shark, because I had to play keep away to get that big important unit on the board, but the principles are all the same. The Ghost Kill goes somewhere where it's uninteractable, so it's scoring you points the entire time. And if your opponent overextends to try and get it, then you just pick up a bunch of free stuff. Railgun is more of a piece that scares people than one that actually does the most damage across your games. It's a bit of a weird thing, but like the psychological effect of a railgun and 2 Seeker missiles looking at somebody about to poke its head out of a ruin and hit someone is often enough that people will sometimes either misplay or will just respect it enough that you control that section of the board without physically doing anything. Crit Carnivores, trade early. Crutox Riders, trade early. A 60-point unit that can run up and stand on objective and say, hey, I got 10 wounds at T6 on here. Come and get me. Yeah, I don't have shit for saves, but you either commit something that kills it easily and then my railhead hits you, or you commit something that may or may not kill it, and then I trade favorably in return. Double Pathfinders are likely your turn 2. Maybe you can hold them to turn 3 answer, but you've got recon drones on them, so there's a lot of infiltrate. And Piranhas to just jam up and block everybody up. And then Riptides and Skyray and Railhead and Shadow Sun, they play your long game. Breaches you just use to hit wherever you need to. Best of luck to Steven Salazar at the World Championships, and let's move on to our next list, which is Tony Barrett, going for the simple name Montcar WCW1, where Montcar, Shadow Sun, Ethereal with Strike Conqueror, Firesight team with Strike Swiftly. This is the first Firesight team we've seen, and there is a big number of fans of the Firesight teams. Now, while it's not something that I tend to include in my lists, I do think the Firesight absolutely has value, assuming that the player is good enough to position it in a way where it can get continuous value. And I think because the World Championship of Warhammer will be played on GW layouts, I actually think that's much easier to do than it is on something like WTC, which is the more common terrain style that I play on. Double Devilfish. No breaches, so we're not going breacher fish for this. We've got a 2-man unit of high-yield missile pods with twin SMS and weapon support systems. Now, why this is important is that the twin SMS, because of the weapon support system, you basically ignore half of the downside of indirect, which is the -1 to hit. And then if you can get any guider whatsoever with the change to our army rule that just goes, yep, cool, I'm guiding for that unit over the other side of the wall, then your broadsides also get +1 ballistic skill. So you ignore the hit modifier and you hit in indirect on 3s, which is kind of fucking crazy. Especially if you're going in armies like Eldari, where chipping off 3 or 4 wounds, for a Marine, it's like whatever, that's maybe 2 models, maybe less. For an Eldari unit, that's like more than half of them. Ghost Kill, which is Rakers and Fusion Blasters. I thought all indirect was hitting on 4s. Oh, apologies. I forgot about that particular FAQ. Yes, they will only be hitting on 4s. So correction of what I said, only hitting on 4s, but they do ignore minuses to hit, which is really, really important. The guiding will be for ignore cover. Sorry, that's the part of it I got wrong. Thank you, Dan. Very, very important. The FAQ said nothing hits better than 4s. Okay, so Crit Carnivore unit, it's going to be everywhere. Double Crit Hounds, single unit of 6 Rampages, which I can fuck with. I can get behind that. In Montcar, you've got a lot of your stuff moving very quickly. You probably don't need the Rampages to crash into anything until like, turn 2 or 3 anyway. So you can spend the early turns advancing them and getting them into place. We've also got a unit of double Crutox Riders, great early trading unit. I've sung their praises enough. Double Pathfinders, Recon, and we've got, where's your other drone? Grav Inhibitor. He's also using that tech. Double Grav Inhibitor, which is a direction my list almost took for the teams event. This means you've got a Pathfinder team, trade super early, And for anybody who's wondering why we're seeing multiples of the Pathfinders, I'll break down it very, very simply why they're so good and why I think a lot of people, when the army rule and therefore the Pathfinders changed, why people slept on them. Pathfinders are a self-sufficient missile. They are able to shoot and gain the benefit of their own guiding into the unit that they guide for or designate. So what you're having is a unit that the ions are hitting on 4s, the rest of the boys are hitting on 3s, and I guess the drones on 4s as well, because drones suck when they're not attached to a vehicle. So you've got this really incredible self-sufficient package that isn't going to go and like blow up a repulsor executioner. But if you position them correctly on the infiltrate, you scout 7, move 7, you haven't advanced, which means that you can throw grenades, get a bunch of mortal wounds down, fire the ions, fire the grenade launcher, throw everything else in, and because they're firing at a guided target, in Montcar they have lethal hits, which means they can threaten a lot more than you would think. The only place that I think the Pathfinders fall down a little bit is if you can't get a second unit to target to get the -1 AP, and you're firing into 2-up armor saves. You don't tend to do a ton of damage then, but anything with a 3-up or worse, you actually get a surprising amount of damage through. So that's why we're seeing a ton of the Pathfinders. Then you've got 2 units that are going to play the long game with the Grav Inhibitor drone, or play the screening game, as I was talking, where you bubble out your units and then have your stuff sometimes uninteractable, because you can stand at 10 inches and your opponent's like, 10, yeah, maybe I get it, maybe I don't. Hell, even a 9-inch charge out of Deep Strike, they're at 11 inches for a charge. They need to roll near to or at boxcars. So really great to see them. Double Riptide for this boy. No stealth suits and a single unit of Vespid. So this one is a very, very interesting cook. What we've done, instead of going for the stealth suits where you're spending 80 points to get the reroll 1s to hit, reroll 1s to wound, you're opting for, Shadow Sun doesn't really need guiding, so she can do it. You just don't get ignore cover, so you do it into units that aren't getting cover from you anyway. You've got the Ethereal with the marker drone, because the Ethereal is able to guide. You've got the Firesight team, which is able to guide. Then you're using Kroot to play the game for you early, do all your trading, do whatever else, and the Pathfinders, probably especially the ones with semi-automatic grenade launcher, they are guiding for your ignore cover. So, yeah. They won't get lethal on their own guide in Montcar. Non-observer units get it. Oh, interesting. Okay. I might have misunderstood that part of the rule. I'm actually going to, and this is a really good thing for everybody to do. Whenever something comes up, always make sure you read the specific wording, because, the game is massive. People get shit wrong all the time. And the best thing you can do for yourself is know what the exact wording is on your rules, so that you in the future don't get caught up by anything. Doesn't matter who is right, it matters that we are doing what is right. So first, second, third battle rounds, ranged weapons equipped by tower import models have assault. Your first, second battle round, while a unit is a guided unit, so that is the part that Duck is talking about. While you're a guided unit, which the Pathfinders gain the benefit, but it doesn't say that they are a guided or count as a guided unit for that. So yeah, absolutely correct. Having said that, I still stand by what I said. The Pathfinders, I think, are a great little self-sufficient missile. Duck, thank you so much for the correction. This is a unit that doesn't really need support, offers value to the rest of your army, and is able to just play the mission in so many different ways. I really, really do love this unit. Interesting cook from Tony Barrett. Really, really interested to see how this goes, going into more of a Kroot style, while not going into any of the detachments that actually lean on giving Kroot benefits. Best of luck, Tony, and let's move on to our next list. So we've got Trent Mazer, and this is another Montcar list. We have an Ethereal, where he's rocking nothing special on the drones, marker shield, Strike Conqueror, which I think is a really, really great enhancement, especially if you're playing the long game. Second Ethereal with Strike Swiftly. Okay, so essentially what we're going to glean from this is that he wanted very cheap HQs, that he can put all of his points in other stuff, but you're still getting some of the value of some of the best enhancements that Montcar has access to. You've got the triple Pathfinder team in this one. We've got Recon Drone, Grav Inhibitor. So you can see like this tech is, I think, being valued by a lot of the best Tau players in the world, which makes a ton of sense. I don't think you get better value than a 90-point unit that can do as much as a set of Pathfinders do. Are we going for ions on every single one of them? Ions, and ions. Yep. So no other rail rifle Giga Chads. 2 units of 3 stealth suits with Marcus Shield. You're going to see that a ton. Double Vespid. Then we've got a Ghost Kill, standard setup, cyclic, and twin fusion. Hammerhead with railgun and smart missile systems. Singular Piranha to go and annoy the shit out of somebody and potentially blow up a vehicle. Triptide behind it. Double Sky Ray, which I really do like. I know we're seeing it everywhere, and it sometimes hits a point where people, Stephen Phelan, how you doing? Good to see you, pal. Like, people can be like, everybody's spamming the same units, but I will argue back that the spine of most lists that you see, especially in a meta, and remember that if you're going to the World Championship, you're not like, I'm going to go and have a fun game with my friends and I want to take whatever. Like, not everybody can be Terry Gigachad with Retaliation Carter Storm Surge. Like, not everybody's going to do this and jam in a Sunshark and whatever. And it needs to be said, these players are going there to win. And that, like, you do that by using the best data sheets that we've got and playing them as best you can. So I think we're going to see this a lot, but it absolutely makes sense. A Skyray, in terms of efficiency, in my opinion, there's almost nothing that beats that out in terms of just raw output, but also having things like Markalite to support the rest of your army. And Riptides with their change, beautiful. Twin SMS are really getting the feeling from all of the lists that I've been seeing that everybody is teching into all of the little annoying shit that hides behind walls that you normally can't interact with. And even if you don't destroy it, let's throw this out there right now. There are sometimes you don't need to destroy a unit. You just have to start making it take battle shock checks. That can sometimes be enough to completely throw someone's plan out of whack. Because if you've got a little nothing unit sitting on their backfield, and let's say it's a linchpin where you have to hold your home in order to get 5 points rather than 3 on all the no man's land objectives. If that unit at the back starts taking battle shock checks and fails one, and your opponent, instead of getting 5, 5, and 5, gets 3, 3, and 3, that is immediately a swing of, 6 points straight away in one singular turn, as well as not getting the 3 for their home. So this can be a very big deal, and I think now is the perfect time for Twin Smart Missile Systems and all of our little indirect that can be so friggin' annoying, especially with units like Riptides that ignore hit mods. They will just hit on 4s, and if you can get a guider unit, they can get ignores cover. The indirect penalty almost literally doesn't apply. Now, yes, as we pointed out before, they can't hit on 3s. Who cares? If you're smacking a nothing unit over the other side of the wall, it's a lot of the time not about killing it. But anyway, I won't keep beating that drum. Singular Devilfish to back up what I'm assuming is either leaving an Ethereal in because you don't care about the roll, but you can always just leave them in, well, at least one of them in Strat Reserve. The Strike Swiftly unit you have to have on the board, but it's more than likely that the Grav Inhibitor Pathfinders are going to be in there, scout the Devilfish out of deployment zone, and then start playing a front-to-back tower style. So really, really cool take on a Montcar list. Trent Mazer, absolute best of luck to you. And let's go on to our next list, which is Luke Rolfe. This is, so the Ram Mia kin band. Now, I feel like I'm about to get D's nuts with Ramir. Maybe he's just like a narrative player that just loves his stuff, and if he does, then fucking power to you. But I feel like I'm about to have someone on the internet be like, you got balls in your mouth. Looks like a half granny perhaps with Pathfinders and the Devilfish for the scout move. Yeah, that was my thought. Maybe one of the Ethereals loading the fish, give a scout with the enhancement, pick up your Pathfinders. Potentially. Honestly, I think that the Ethereals are going to play the back of the board with the Vespid. Because a single Ethereal model, if they don't have 6-inch deep strike, which we're not actually seeing a ton of outside of a handful of armies, like Ethereals are such an efficient screening unit because everybody's taking Crude Carnivores. You stick at your home and then you actually don't have to stand on it. The Ethereal can stand behind it, blocking off that 9 inches. Another Ethereal, 18 inches away from him or closing whatever bubble you have to have. And they can sit farming their CP. You're still holding your home. Nobody can deep strike on it because the Ethereal 9-inch bubble extends around it, because even off it, you are still holding it. And then everything else gets to go and play the game. You're using 100 points, basically, take off the enhancements, but you're essentially using 100 points to go 1,900 points gets to go and play the game and do whatever the fuck they want. And then throw on top of that Vespid, and you've basically got like your screening taken care of for every stage of the game. All right, so Crude Hunting Pack on this one. Really glad to see another one of these. We've got a Flesh Shaper with the Flock. We've got a Lone Spear without anything. Double Lone Spear, love it. Lone Spear might actually be my favorite Crude model at the moment outside of the Rampages, but neither here nor there. And that's not from like a power perspective. That's just, I think the model's fucking cool. I love the Calamandra. Anyway, Trail Shaper with Nomadic Hunter. And then War Shaper with Root Carved Weapons. So they're really going into the, I guess, what we thought maybe the standard Crute list would look like in Hunting Pack before it got FAQ'd that War Shapers couldn't return their own unit. You can't return more than one unit in a game, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's a lot of things that drove us away from that list, at least in popularity. But yeah, okay, so we've got 2 20-mans, 3 10-man, so really going to gum up the board. And especially with a Flesh Shaper, which gives them a Feel No Pain, one of these bricks is going to be surprisingly difficult to shift. 5+ invulnerable against shooting, 6 up against melee, and then throw a Feel No Pain on top. It's a lot of extra dice to roll. And assuming you're not Jay, you'll probably make some of those Feel No Pains. Double Railgun for the instant delete button on vehicles. Fast Stalker unit. Single unit of Crude Hounds. Oh, Giga Chad, 18 Rampages. You love to see it. I kind of expected that. When you see the Lone Spears, the next thing you expect to see is Rampages because, I mean, in my opinion, they make the best use of the buff. 3 sets of 2 Crutox Riders, single unit of Stealth Suits, and a unit of Vespid. Okay. So this list, so far as I can tell, is saying I can deal with infantry. 20-mans of Crude Carnivores aren't like the most efficient killing units, but they are going to take a chunk out of whatever they touch. The War Shaper with the Root Carved Weapons is just a really good output piece. Trail Shaper, I would hazard a guess it's going to go with the Fast Stalkers. Now, there is a chance that it goes with the 20-man Crude Carnivore unit because giving that unit not only on top of its scout moves and whatever else, but a reactive move, pluses to its movement, it can make them really obnoxious. And the Trail Shaper also picks its own unit as well as another one and redeploys them, which means you can be very aggressive with the Fast Stalkers and then just pull them back into safety. So regardless whether you go first or not, no man's land is clear, your opponent didn't get anything in there, or maybe just like one unit on the side or whatever, especially if you get the defender roll, and then you pull them back and go, you're not going to touch this unit until I'm ready, which engaging on your own terms is a very, very big part of winning these types of games against the best players in the world. Rampages will take out almost anything that they will touch, assuming that they're set up for success with the Lone Spears. We did go Blast Javelins on each. I see the argument for the long guns hitting on 3s, but I think that the Blast Javelins having multiple hits and being at strength 10, it just... I never like rolling that singular dice because I am very fucking cursed. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I do see the value in the Blast Javelins, and that's what I've lent to in a lot of the times that I've played. Crutox Riders for just pure efficiency and trading, as well as having missile pods on them. Single unit of Stealth Suits, I can actually see the value in this. You're only going for like double Hammerhead, and that's kind of it for your Tau shooting units, so just prioritize that. Absolutely makes sense. Really keen to see how they go. They're going to be playing the scoring game, flooding the board, doing all that sort of stuff. So it's not usually how Tau tends to play. We want to just kill everything and make the game easier that way. But really keen to see how they go. Luke Rolfe, best of luck in your World Championship run. And let's move on to our next list. Now, that was Tony, that was Trent, that was Luke. All right, we're over here. Matthew Sector. Now, I noticed that Sector appears twice, so I don't know if they're brothers. But if they are, I mean, let's go big bros. They're just two bros. It's simple math. Now, this is Auxiliary Carter, which, man after my own heart, I do love Oxcad. We have Admired Leader on the Ethereal, and again, only taking the cheapest character that we have access to, which gives him a Warlord, gives him an enhancement, and nothing else, putting all the points into other data sheets. So we have triple head with ion cannons. Ion cannons in this detachment are absolutely amazing. As long as you have a crude or Vespered unit wholly within 9 inches of them, you can give them +2 strength. Or even failing that, if you've only got to hit something that's T9, you've got no crude to spare, you still get the +1 strength. You just don't get the 2 if you don't have the crude or Vespered near you. Ion cannons and +2 strength on the Seekers and the Accelerators, whatever, like Accelerator Burst Cannons at strength 8 are so fucking good. So yeah, triple Hammerhead, really good to see. Single unit of Crit Carnivores. We've got 2 6-mans and a 3-man Rampages. We actually saw this from John from Tau Tactics and did very, very, very well with his Rampages in his run. Single unit of... well, actually, just a single Crutox rider. Very efficient for 40 points. They did cop a points nerf because they're a little bit too efficient at 30 points. I think they were, or 35 points, whatever the fuck they were. But even at 40 points, these guys are still great. If you've got an extra 20, tack on a second rider. Really good. And then Pathfinder team with our Ion Rifle and Recon Drone. This will be his Infiltrate. Then we're looking at Triptide and triple Stealth Suit, single Vespered. So this list is going to kill fucking everything. Triple Hammerhead with Ion. Triple Rampages, 2 of them are 6-man. And then Triptide with all the guiding you could ever want. This list will fall apart if he doesn't screen out like rush melee armies or armies that are very easily able to get angles onto his high value stuff, especially if they can get rid of these Rampages early, a ton of his pressure falls off. But this list played well is a fucking terror. Really keen to see how he goes. Now, he's gone for the Twin Fusion Blasters, which means he's thinking about either a fuck around and find out unit with units getting close to his Riptide and then popping them with Melter, or he's planning on going aggressive with the Riptides and having the Ions be the play the long game output over time. And I can see the value in it because Riptides at a 2-up armor, 4-up invuln, T9, and then all of the other like tricks that they pull out, especially Oxcat, and I need to point this out, has the best stratagem that I think I could ever want. If I were to build my own Tau detachment, that would be one of the first stratagems I plug in, which is moving at the end of the fight phase as long as your unit was eligible to fight. That has some of the biggest outplay potential that I think you could hope for from almost anything. It's just incredible. Gotta have your gorillas in there. Fucking oath you do. 24 gorillas is super good. It would be interesting to see how they manage the reduced shooting line. Yeah. I assume you're talking from the Kroot unit, which, the Kroot hunting pack detachment, which had the Crutox riders, but yeah. Also need to keep his auxiliaries alive can be tough when you also need to trade them for kills. Well, assuming that, this is an extremely good Tau play, which I think we should, he's going to the World Championship. I think you do have the tools to be able to trade. Vesper are going to play the long game. Your Crutox rider is a very, very good, turn 1, go up and give the buff for what I need, or live longer, because as long as he's got the can't be shot outside of 18. I've said it plenty of times, but the Crutox are deceptively hard to kill. But he has gone as slim as you possibly can. Single unit of Kroot Carnivores, which are going to stick to your home and maybe try and play the mission a little bit more. So it's really, the star of the show is going to be how he uses these 4 units here. And I think he lives or dies based on their positioning. But yeah. So best of luck to Matthew Sector. Really cool to see Oxcad in the mix. And let's go on to our next list, which is going to be Jordan. I'm assuming it's Knack. It may be Natch. Though we all know that both of those are wrong. It's Nash, because he's got a rockin' Nash sitting right on his top lip. For anybody who wasn't here for the start of the stream, that was the name of somebody who joined the YouTube membership. It's a deep cut throwback, but anyway. Thus with a pulse rifle. Good name. Tau Empire, Moncar, double Fireblade with gun drones. No enhancements. double Breacher team, double Devilfish, Fire Knife team. So rocking the commanderless crisis suits, which to be honest, I don't hate. Fire Knives are so efficient that like the commander just makes them even better. But they can still fuck on their own. Railgun, Ion Cannon for the double Hammerhead, single unit of Crew Carnivores, single unit of Pathfinders with Ion Rifles and Recons, single Piranha, double Riptide with Twin Smart Missile System, double Skyray, triple Stealth Suit, and no Vespid to be seen. So, giving up the uppy downy and all of the utility that brings for a very, very front-to-back tower list. This basically doesn't have any tricks, but is going to give a really rough time to anything it sees. Now, he will live or die based on how he sets up his many, many Devilfish bodies. You have double Hammerhead, double Skyrays, that's already 4, and then you've got double Devilfish. So how you use your deployment zone is going to be the upper limit on how this list performs. Misplace your units or block yourself out early, and you're probably going to put yourself in a rough position that if your opponent's good enough, and again, it's a world championship, we should probably assume that they are going to punish that very, very heavily. That said, the list can do some pretty nasty things to people, so all the best, Jordan Natch. I apologize, I'm not doing that to be obnoxious. Best of luck in your world championship run, and let's go on to our next list. After I check our chat, don't need point scoring if you table them by turn 3, am I right? I mean, like, there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek. I can hear it in there, Stephen. But that is a legitimate way to play Tau. Some might argue is actually the stronger way to play Tau. Like, I really enjoyed cooking up the Immortal Tau list. But, like, the way that Tau is played for such a long time has just been that your game gets easier when you kill efficiently. If you're able to Alpha Strike, play angles, trade effectively with your opponent. Like, when you have an army that's a glass cannon in the most respects, then it does kind of just become the best way to play outside of a few niche circumstances. And that's where I think we see the Crude Hunting Pack doing quite well, where they can live for longer than your opponent expects. The Immortal Tau list does this, where you can live longer than your opponent expects. But there are downsides that come with that, as opposed to just having all of the damage in the world. But, yeah. All right, so we have a Canadian Tuxedo, which is our, I believe, only experimental prototype Carter player, where we've got a Cold Star with the Plasma Accelerator Rifle. We have a Cold Star with the Supernova, which just based as fuck. Like, I've said it so many times, I love our prototype weapons. I was really sad when we lost them going from 9th. And this detachment, it just, even if it's never the most, like, competitive thing in the world, there is a little piece of dopamine that gets released when I see this stuff. Wahoo! Hello, Loopy. How you doing, buddy? We've got a single unit of Breaches and a Devilfish. So just going for the unsupported package that still jumps out and does some pretty great stuff. And I don't know if you know this, but Breaches at 16 inches still fuck super hard. It's just harder to get on top of you. 2-man broadside unit, rocking the heavy rails and twin smart missile systems, as well as a Seeker missile. We have double Fire Knife Squad, should surprise nobody. But he is rocking missile drones and then plasma for the other one. Now, this is something that I toyed around a bit when Experimental Prototype came out, where 24-inch plasma, how does it feel? Absolute shocker. It felt the same as when our plasma was 24 before the nerf, when we got our Codex, where it was 30 in 9th. But it does give you a little bit of extra play. It does let you play angles a little bit more because you're not having to get within that 18. I've pretty wholly been let down by plasma in the past. Now, little bit of a yap, but in 9th, I loved running crisis suits when you had 3 guns and you could pick their loadout. And you weren't fixed as we became in the Codex. I would run double plasma and a missile pod. That felt really good. Now, I have to say the missile pod was AP2 back then. Obviously, 9th was super killy. But I just found that having 4 shots a model was a great little break point. And it killed almost anything I needed to. Now, having half the number of shots per model, the plasma just tend to let me down. And I've said it before, I am fucking cursed with my dice. So I go for whatever efficiency and whatever can fix my personal skill issue failings of not being able to roll over a 2. Ghost Guild with the Cyclic and a Twin Fusion playing the Distraction Carnifex role. Single unit recruit Carnivores. We have 1 and 2 Pathfinders. Ions, and Recons on both. No, Grav Inhibitor and Recon on that, so using the tech that we were talking about before. A Razor Shark Strike Fighter, taking a little bit of inspiration from the idea of popping onto anywhere on the board and just belting your opponent. Really, really cool. Double Riptide with Twin Smart Missile Systems, double Stealth Battle Suits, and Vespid. So, couple of tricks in this list. Not wholly going for try and outplay you with tricksy bullshit. Not going into the full front to back, but kind of doing a little bit of both. Really, really want to see this guy succeed because I do love the underdog story of being the only guy bringing experimental prototype Carter. We'll have to see how it goes when he goes there. I only got 1 Razor Shark painted in time. Jason Crepit is in the chat. Everybody, please join me. Jason, best of luck in your World Championship run. Really, really cool to see the experimental prototype Carter. So if you don't mind sharing, if you got the second Razor Shark painted in time, what would you have gone? Like, what would this list look like in a perfect scenario? You've got every model and you can jam in whatever you want. While Jason does that, let's move on to our next list. Again, best of luck in your World Championship run. And let's go into Danielle de Gemini. This one, no fancy name, just how I see. This is our second Retaliation Carter list. Now, the last one, it has to be said, chat, the last one was either a Wild Cook or a Massive Troll, and I'm not sure which one it was, but I respected it either way, jamming a Storm Surge in there. Let's see if this one goes a little bit more of the standard, and we are kind of looking at that, but I do see something spicy down the bottom of my screen. 2 Razor Sharks, 0 Ghost Kill. Interesting. Well, best of luck with the single Razor Shark. I do love the idea, and I actually got a lot of value out of mine at Masters last year. Or was it this year? Fuck, time has been so weird. I don't even know. Commander Farsight, Cold Star with the Starflare Ignition System and Fusion Blasters. So not going for the uppy-downy on the missile units as we can tend to see. Then we've got a Cold Star with internal grenade racks, flamers and a cyclic. Then we've got a Lone Spear sitting in there. Lone Spear is extremely interesting. Oh, one thing I have noticed, apologies everybody, I'm going to move my chat box over to the right side. It's blocking up some of the stuff that should be sitting above my head. I'm also just going to zoom out a little bit. I apologize if there's anything that's a little bit hard to see. Don't hesitate to let me know. I'm more than happy to throw things on screen that sort of helps out. Jesus, what are you discussing in here? Never seen such a message before joining a channel. Centerfolded, first time chatter. What message did you see? Because depending on what it was, it might not have even been me. Was it just the adult content warning? Because if it was, I put that up there because I just kind of tend to swear freely and whatever else, and I don't want to have a situation where like a kid joins in being like, "Oh, I love Tau," and then they have an Australian throwing out Australia's national word constantly. It was like a very adult themed channeling thing. I didn't memorize, but I'd never seen it. Okay, so you probably watch people that don't put that warning up. I do just because I want people to know that like there's going to be swearing and whatever else. And I probably didn't untick it from playing some more like, I say violent games, but they're just like, games that people play. But yeah. Starscythe unit with flamers, Sunforge unit. Now we're seeing pretty standard loadouts from everybody, gun shield, and then no marker on the Sunforges. No marker on the Starscythe. So we're not worried about bring it down, and we're not worried about guiding. Now the Starscythes, I think I can see what he's going for, where he wants to have the extra wounds. And if you're not worried about the bring it down, then fair enough. But I think Starscythes are like such a good guiding unit because they don't gain any benefit from guiding. They ignore cover and they auto hit. So yeah, interesting. Oh, now I should put a caveat on that. I said Starscythes, but I mean the Flamer sides, because Flamers ignore cover. If you've got burst cannons, different story, but yeah. All right, so double Sunforge, 2 units of Crude Carnivores, triple Crude Hounds, Pathfinder squad with ion rifles, Triptide and triple stealth suits, and then a single unit of Vespid. Okay, so what I'm gleaning out of this is that we've got a little bit of priority on points for some early throwaway trash units, which is your double Crude Carnivores, your triple Crude Hounds. You've got no way to give the Crude Hounds OC, so you're probably spending them to screen and just make movement like super obnoxious for your opponent. You can also use them to lock things down, like if you've got like some Eldari Rangers that, you know, you need to get on top of and you don't want to be moving around, or you don't want to commit a resource to, they can charge in and like chump them up and lock them down and whatever. So that can be a thing. But yeah, you're really going to be relying on the Crisis units to get it done and the Riptides to be where you need them to be. Though you will have a fusion unit that, if played correctly, is going to come down, blow something up. If you're in a position where you can't be clapped back, then you just go back up in the sky, do it again at 6 inches. So yeah, interesting choice with this one, because you don't always need to go all out damage. Really keen to see how the screens and everything go. Actually, that's another thing. The Crude Hounds could be incredible for if you've got rush melee armies dealing with like World Eaters with Surges, all that sort of stuff. The Crude Hounds are excellent to just go, no, you're not moving at me. Or you put them close enough behind them and then go, yeah, your Surge move can go that way. I'm standing here. That's the closest unit. You can surge to them if you want. And that can be a really good outplay piece because you don't care if the unit dies. But yeah. Wild Choice would love to hear why. Thanks for being kind to my list. Best of luck in all you do. Oh, thanks so much, Jason. I really appreciate it. When I first read Oxcad last year, I was sure every list would start with 3 units of Crude Hounds. Well, it's an interesting thing that, like, when you make that choice, you are taking potential points away. Like, 2 units of Crude Hounds is a single unit of Stealth Suits. So then you start getting into choices of efficiency of getting the buff from Oxcad, or can I outplay the need for like super, super cheap stuff, but that adds up over time? Because this is 120 points. This is a full unit of Fire Knives. So you need to be certain about your game plan, what you're doing, and how well and easily you can trade with your opponent. Like in this, the triple Crude Hound, if I spend 120 points to have World Eaters never touch the stuff that I don't want them to touch, then like that is incredible. That is incredible value. But you have to plan in advance that that's what you're doing with the unit, because otherwise you've just given up guns. Just strictly given up guns. But yeah. A Lone Spear can make them OC1 if he's within 12. Oh my God, I forgot he put a Lone Spear in. Oh my God. Okay. Thank you so much. I've been piling through so many lists, I forgot to pay attention to that. So they can be OC. So with a Lone Spear, essentially what we've committed is 200 points to having a unit that can either screen, move block, stand on objectives and do the early trades. And like the Lone Spear, I'm interested about this one because we haven't gone rampages for the rerolls to hit. So I wonder if it's more from the fact that with the Blast Javelin, you got a strength 10 weapon, you've got a reactive move after the Lone Spear shoots, so you can still get value out of his gun while also repositioning into places that you want to go. This is a list that the more I look at it, the more I actually want to call up this player and like pick their brain, because there are so many things you could be planning for this. And, you know, if none of it pans out, then the list just doesn't have as much damage as any other list would do, and you can't just, like, blow people up and win the game through tabling. But if it does come out, you've got some matchups that maybe go from yellows into greens or reds into yellows because you can deal with surges and moves and whatever. Danielle, absolutely best of luck in your run. Really keen to see how this one turns out. I would likely do after the World Championships finishes up, a kind of blow-by-blow of some of the top tower players, how they performed, some of my lists that I was really excited about, seeing how that player actually went in their run. Obviously, we can't get like what happened on the table, but I'm assuming that someone like Joe is going to be streaming, so if we do get any Tau on stream, you know I'm going to be watching that shit as well, just to see how the stuff goes. But best of luck in your run, Danielle, and let's move on to our next list, which is David Clark. WCW, Crute alone weak, Crute together strong. Fuck yes. All right, this is another Oxcad, man after my own heart. We have Shadow Sun as the lone HQ, but what a HQ she is. Single broadside models with heavy rail rifles, missile drones and weapon support systems with seeker missiles. Okay, so favoring the ignore hit modifiers and the instant sort of one bang that you can get on a vehicle with the first turn activation with the seeker missile. We have a double ghost kill setup, so good early mission play. Really good at hiding your Kroot because he's lone op himself, and you give the lone op bubble to all your Kroot, so really, really good. Dante said Joe won't be there today. Oh, okay, interesting. But so as in Joe couldn't get there for the first day, but will be there later. Do you know what streams are actually covering the WCW? So single unit of Kroot Carnivores absolutely makes sense. Single 3-man Rampager with 2 6-mans. We're seeing this a lot more. Again, John from Tau Tactics had a lot of success with this, did really well. And this, I think if I were to play Oxcad, this is probably the direction I'd go. Save a little bit of points, throw stuff in, but still have great units. Pathfinder team with Ions and Recon Drone. Singular Riptide with a Twin Plasma. Double Sky Ray, double Stealth Suit, and double Vespid. So this list kind of just does everything. It has really good mission play. It leans on a lot of good lone op units. Broadsides can walk in from strat reserve, so you don't have to threaten them at all early. And then you've got Kroot going up and threatening people. The charges are just absolutely devastating. Oxcad giving auto advance 6, advance and charge and advance and shoot, or on your Tau units, just advance and shoot, which is really good to have on Riptides, by the way, if you haven't noticed from Montcar being taken everywhere. And you've got things like reroll wounds, as well as -1 AP. Now, that's a lot of CP to spend, and you're not going to spend on all of it. But one of the things that I really value as a player is options. If I've got the options to solve different problems at different times, and as long as I'm good with my CP, then I can get that value out, then I think that is absolute fucking peak design. So, yeah. I think this list is probably my pick for if I were to take Oxcad, it might look something like this. And I think this has an incredible ceiling because also don't forget Oxcad with the move after the fight phase. You could do that with like your Riptides, your Rampages, hell, even the Pathfinder team. If one of them lives, there are some shenanigans that you can get away with using that stratagem. So yeah, really cool list to see. Best of luck to David Clark. And let's move on to our next list, which is Durant Glizanier Bosny. Now, I'm sorry because I probably just butchered the pronunciation of a bunch of those, but railguns have 2 shots that ignore mods. So we are looking at a Cal Yon list. I think this is the first Cal Yon list that we've reviewed, unless I'm crazy. Oh, no, sorry, there was another one. We have a Fireblade. We have Shadow Sun. Single Breacher team, single Devilfish. That absolutely makes sense. A single unit of these guys, if used correctly, you don't really need more. They hit incredibly hard. They're very, very efficient. Like, I cannot speak highly enough about Breachers. They are the most fuckable data sheet in our codex. Don't even at me. We got a single unit of Kroot Carnivores. Is anybody keeping count? I said before that we would see a unit of Kroot Carnivores in every single list because they're fucking amazing. And at the moment, I think it's 100% success rate. We've got a unit of 2 Krutox Riders, incredibly efficient. I love them. Pathfinder teams, we've got Ion and Recon. Recon, Ion, so just double infiltrating or units that can do whatever you want them to do, as well as starting the breaches, hoofing it, put a unit of Pathfinders into the Devilfish, scout it out. So even though he's gone for the Recon drone, that doesn't mean you have to infiltrate them. You have all the options in the world for how you want to skin a particular cat. But also don't skin cats. It's fucking weird. I know cats are shit and we shouldn't like them. But we don't skin them. Come on, guys. Don't be weird. Double Piranha, which is really good in a Cal Yon list. Early pressure, early move blocking. T7 body. Just like an amazing little platform for 60 points. Triptide sitting behind it. Should surprise nobody. Twin SMS. This unit only gets better as soon as you hit turn 3. Ghost Kill. Now, it needs to be said that after the change to Kalyon, where you don't get Sustain 2, you get Sustain 1 and ignore mods. Riptides, like, yes, they already ignore hit modifiers, but remember that it's also ignore ballistic skill modifiers, which can come up in certain games. And if there are matchups that you're worried about, the Riptides, they start good and then they get really good. Hammerhead with Railgun for the one pump jump. Going twin SMS as well. Sorry, smart missile system. They don't have twin. As well as the Skyray in singular, double stealth suit, and then Vespid. So this one is just a control a little bit of the board, play the missions that you need to with the Vespid, and then wait for your turn to strike. Now, I've said it a bunch of times, Cao Yon lists are played best when you don't just sit at the back of the board and give everything up. Cao Yon doesn't mean do nothing. The sustained hits is a consolation prize and a little bit of a power bump because you had to trade early. So this list played well, has a very, very good upper limit. He has tools to do anything you need to do with early trading with riders to keep your best units intact, using the Piranhas and maybe a unit of Pathfinders at least a little bit aggressively or as trading units, and then you just poke out a Riptide, and even without sustained hits, you are monstering stuff. So really, really, really cool to see a Cao Yon list go a little bit more, I'd say traditional, though I don't think that's the terminology that I like best, but yeah. All right, Durant, best of luck in your World Championship run, and let's move on to our next list, which is Hayden Walduck. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, Hayden is an Australian player, is a previous World Champion WTC player. I interviewed him on my channel a bunch of times. Really great dude, and I am absolutely rooting for Hayden to do well. Now, I'm keen to see his list because Hayden, I've said a bunch of times, could take a flaming bag of shit, put it on a table, and probably win a game out of it. So I'm keen to see the direction that Hayden has gone with his particular list. Now, Montcar is the choice. Ethereal with Strat Conqueror. I think if you're going to go with single HQ, this one absolutely makes sense. If you don't feel like you need the scout moves, plus OC gives you such staying power in an army that is going to go quick, and then later in the game maybe have less resources, but still not lose out. Best and brightest Tau players list. So anything that Jake goes out with, I would say that. There are, like, as much as I know that I can hold my own and whatever, I haven't been going to any of like the bigger tournaments. I've probably got a little bit of rust, but there are players that are just like cracked out of their mind. And to be honest, as much as I would love to say that I'm the greatest there always, it's just not true. It's just not true. There are players that are probably face roll me across the table. And honestly, Hayden's one of them. He is an exceptionally good player. Broadsides now, I'm seeing 270 here, which means we got 170 with the heavy rail rifle with twin smart missiles and seeker missiles. Then we have high yield missile pods. The fucking madman went for the Dakar broadside unit. Which, for anybody looking at Montcar, how does this work? Because the broadsides are typically very slow. You got an auto 6 advanced strat, and you've got assault on their weapons with lethal hits. This unit, because it's got twin linked on its high yield missile pods, this unit can threaten anything in the fucking game. Anything in the game. I don't care what it is. They have the capacity to take a monstrous chunk out of it. And if you just put like a little unit that you don't give a shit about, as its paired unit, they're also AP2 missile pods. So this one, like, again, like the list will live and die by how this unit performs, how Hayden's able to position it, whether he strat reserves them or leaves them on the table. But this unit just has such an upper limit for how much it can carry a game if used incredibly well, because it's not just the high yield missile pods, it's the missile drones, it's the twin smart missile systems, and they ignore hit modifiers. There is nothing you can do outside of tying this unit up in melee and not allowing it to move. It can still fire in combat, but there is nothing you can do to slow this unit down. You literally need to kill it or stop it from moving. Double Ghost Kill for a bit of mission play, Cyclic and Twin Fusion Blaster to nobody's surprise. Crew Carnivore unit, triple Pathfinders, 1 Recon, Grav Inhibitor. So Hayden is valuing the same tech that I was talking about early, direction that my team's list almost went in, but I went for 2 rather than 3 for my own reasons. I'll be reviewing that list in a future video. So you've got a unit that can infiltrate, and then you've got 2 units that later in the game, or hell, even early, putting yourself at a certain distance and going -2 to charge can make somebody's decision-making absolutely fucking miserable. Absolutely miserable. And also, I love the Pathfinders because they're a self-sufficient package. They go in and they just fucking burr. Really, really cool. Now, one thing I will say, because we had a correction in chat before where Pathfinders can't get lethal hits when they guide themselves, you can use a Pathfinder unit, or if you're valuing it, a stealth suit unit, to guide for your Pathfinders, get lethals on them. Again, a unit that is scout move 7 is move 14. It doesn't have to advance to get a lot of its angles, and it can throw grenades. Mortal wounds on top of everything this unit does, then you guide for it and get lethal hits. Yes, you have to use another unit, but whatever. That unit can also threaten basically anything. So really cool. Singular Riptide, Twin SMS and an Ion Accelerator, triple Sky Ray. Do you remember I was saying earlier in the stream that this unit might be the most efficient unit in the Tau Codex? Taking them in triplicate and valuing them over Hammerheads, I can see the value on it. It's Markalite. They reroll hits against flying units, which at the moment there are a ton of flying units in the meta. So it's not just the Seeker missiles, but it's also the smart missile systems. Target somebody with indirect, yes, you're copping minuses. Unless you can get guiding on them and then you're hitting on 4s. But you're re-rolling your hits. So 4s with re-rolls is 75%. 5s is fucking less than that. I'm not going to misquote because I'm not a moron. 2 stealth suit units and then a Vespid unit. So what we're looking at is an army that if Hayden wants to, this could go extreme aggression. You got double Ghost Keel and triple Pathfinder. That's 5 units that can deploy in No Man's Land, 3 of which can get into your opponent's deployment zone turn 1. This has the capacity, if he sees an opening for it... sorry. Only one has the recon drone. But still, Pathfinders from your deployment zone going 14 inches up is most of No Man's Land. And then they can advance and shoot. So you know what? I'm still going to stick by what I said. If they get a half-decent advance roll, the Pathfinders that deployed in your deployment zone can still be in your opponent's deployment zone shooting them. They just can't grenades. So you use it with the recon drone. That can be an enormous amount of pressure. And then sitting behind it, Riptide, Triple Sky Ray, and a battery of broadsides. Hayden, this is a fucking cook, man. This is a fucking cook. I will, more than anybody else that's going to this tournament, because I know Hayden, I will be watching what Hayden does and rooting for him. So, Aussie to Aussie, best of luck, Hayden. Yeah. Insane cook. And to anybody that's looking at this and goes, I don't know if there's enough different that I'd call it a cook. I absolutely would. There is enough that's different. Like every competitive list that you find, almost regardless of faction, is going to have a similar backbone that holds it up. And then you build in pieces around it, and that's what gives you its tech. Remember, these players are going for maximum efficiency, maximum chance to win. So it's unsurprising that we're seeing a lot of the same units and then supporting pieces or damage pieces around it to fill out the list and make it different and unique. Hayden, best of luck, dude. Really keen to see what you do with it. On to our last list for the reviews. Austin Johnson on the last Retaliation Carter list. This one looking much more similar to what we've seen previously. We've got Farsight. We've got Quad Fusion Cold Star in duplicate, with one of them having the prototype weapon system, and then an Enforcer with Starflare. This is Quad Flamer, so he's probably going to be putting these guys into a unit of Starsides, which we've got 1 with Flamers, 2 with Flamers, triple Sunforgers. So if I had to make a guess, and I'll check the drones later, you know that the Fusion Cold Stars are going with the Fusion units. That's whatever. Then Enforcer with one of the star sides. Then Farsight, if I had to crawl into his mind and make a guess, it would be that Farsight can go with either a Starsight unit or a Sunforge unit, depending on what you need. Go into something which is very infantry heavy, cool, bang, Starsights. And then you drop down, you get your, your 6-inch deep strike, gets you your +1 strength, and gets you your +1 to wound from Farsight. That can be one of the most nasty things, which I really, really like the flexibility in that. Now, it could be, we do have a marker drone on both of them, so they can be guiding units. It could be that he's not planning that, and I'm overthinking it. But if I was also -1 AP, that's right, they FAQ'd that. When it first changed to get nerfed, they didn't change the range. So they will also +1 strength, -1 AP, +1 to wound, and they can drop in for 1 CP rather than 2 because of Farsight's ability. I'm going to give benefit of the doubt and assume that this is the big brain play that they're thinking of. The Farsight goes where you need him. Really, really interesting bit of tech there. We got a ghost kill, distraction, can't effects, bit of scoring, also benefits from the battlesuit buffs. Crew carnivore unit for sticky. Everybody, that is a 100% success rate on getting crew carnivores into lists. If you're not a fan of them, you need to revisit this unit. It is for 65 points with scout moves, stealth, and sticky objectives. It is, in my opinion, the best unit the Tau has access to from a pure utility and efficiency standpoint, and it seems everybody at the WCW agrees with that sentiment. You don't take more of them unless you're in like Crude Hunting Pack or you got a very specific thing in mind, like the Oxcad list that we saw. But carnivores are just my boys. I love them so much. Singular Piranha, which, yes, it's not going to benefit from the Retaliation Carter buffs, but as long as it's guided, and sometimes even if it's not, a Meltafor Fusion Blaster, 2 Seeker Missiles, Scout 9, 14-inch move, stand in somebody's road and say you're not moving through here, buys time, and at the end of the day, you've given up 60 points. Piranhas are extremely efficient. Double Riptide with Twin Fusions as the take, and then triple stealth suits and single unit Vespid. This is, again, what I would probably call the more like standard, though I don't think that's really a fair word. I just can't think of something better. Or traditional Retaliation Carter list that we've seen previously before our changes. And I think what people expected the list to stay at, though some of the Retaliation Carter cooks that we've seen have been honestly impressive. Honestly impressive. One of them probably more to the troll side of things, but yeah, really cool to see creativity coming out of Tau players in how they're thinking that they need to solve certain problems. And the other thing that I've got to say is bear in mind that nobody's clairvoyant and everybody just has to make choices on lists that they anticipate the meta being. And people are coming from all around the world. The people that Austin plays with are not going to be the same people that Hayden plays with on a regular basis. They have local metas. They have metas in, or even if it's not like local, if they're willing to travel certain distances, especially in like, you know, somewhere where like Europe, where once you've driven for 6 hours, you've traveled across like 4 countries. There are going to be little individual metas that develop everywhere. And so you've got to try and get a read on what you think is going to be there. And your success, assuming that you play everything correctly, can live and die based on your gameplay choices. So Austin, absolute best of luck in your run. Really cool to see Retaliation Carter. So if I'm counting correctly, we have more Montcar and then a spattering of a lot of other detachments. So in the mind of the best players in the world, Montcar currently stands as our most competitive detachment. Now, that's not to say that nothing else isn't going to work, but when you're looking at players that will take the 0.1% efficiency bump to do a little bit better, Montcar has taken the eye of more players than any others. 6 hours only gets me 1 state over. 6 hours doesn't get me out of my state. Yeah, we have to go much further than that. Oh, no, sorry. We could go into the Australian Capital Territory, but it's not leaving my state. It's a territory. And yeah, it technically doesn't count, but don't tell anybody from Canberra I said that. They'll lose their fucking mind. -2 AP at close range against infantry mounted for your flamers is epic. Yeah, it fucking is. Yeah, it is. You'll need more states. I would actually argue the opposite. I think that like having less individual small governments to bicker and carry on and whatever else actually makes broad policy which benefits people a lot easier. But this isn't a politics stream. I'm just gonna states quiz. Oz was too easy. Yeah, fucking oath. I love only having to remember like fucking 6 states and 2 territories or 5 states and 2 territories or whatever it is, rather than what do Americans have to do? 51 states? Like, Fuck that, man. Fuck that. I got other shit that wants to go on in my brain. I don't need to be remembering all that shit. And it's technically still in our state. Fucking true. All right, so let's get into a little bit of ranking. Triptide Crude Hammer Blow. This list with the Trail Shaper, and I'm just going to do a quick review. Bunch of Rampages, Riptide, Skyray. I love this list from a capacity that it's surprisingly hard to kill with a backbone of Rampages, Riders, and Fast Stalkers and whatever. A 20-man crew Carnivore unit is a lot to chew through with an invulnerable save. It is deep strike denial. I absolutely love this. I'm going to give this a Farsight out of Tau. All right, then Morgan Tippy's list in Montcar going for the Enforcer routes, double Fine Knives, Ghost Keel, Pathfinders, Triptide, double Skyray, Stealth Suits, double Vespid. I'm going to give this one a Simping for Shadow Sun out of Tau. I think this is a really, really good list that makes the Farsight Enclaves proud. And I do love the double Enforcer tech. I'm really keen to see how this pans out for him. If anybody thought I was going to do like legitimate reviews, there's no point doing that. It's a fucking meme. Like, I have no idea how these guys are going to perform. I don't know most players personally. So we're just going to have a bit of fun with the rankings. If you were here looking for serious rankings, thank you for watching. The rest of the stream is not going to be for you. I'm going to be yapping and talking shit and having fun. But yeah, so Roger Boyer, the Montcar list with Fireblade, Farsight, Darkstrider, Breacher, Devilfish, Ghostkeel, double Hammerhead, Crew Carnivores, Pathfinder, Piranha, Triptide, Skyray, double Stealth Suits. I think this one is like kind of your standard Tau list that we've been playing for quite a while. So I'm going to give this a retro out of Tau. I think that this one is a little bit of a throwback. Not to say that it's bad at all. I think this list is going to put in work. But it's somebody who really likes the time when you could count on, Farsight to still only be 50 years old. And when Shadow Sun wasn't sitting on ice, and there were only 2 spheres back in my day. Really cool list. Let's then go to... I should have scrolled up at the end of these. Sid Sector, one of the suspected brothers. I don't know if the sector is just a coincidence, but yeah, so this is our Retaliation Carter list. Farsight, Breacher, Carnivore, Pathfinder, Stealth Suit, Vespid, Sunforge, Ghostkeel, Riptide, Storm Surge, Sunshark, Bomber, Devilfish. I'm going to give this just ripped a line of Kroot Powder in front of the Ethereals to prove your loyalty to the Tau Va. This is like... I woke up from a trip of ethereal pheromones, got mind controlled into it, and now I'm sitting with a 400-point model. I want this to do well so well. I don't know that it will. I'm huffing so much hopium for this list. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to turn out to be copium, and we're going to give that an ethereal pheromones out of Tau. Steven Salazar on his Cao Yon after a little bit of chat. 5 out of 7, perfect score. Perfect score. We don't have states in the UK, but if I drive for 2 hours, the common name for a bread roll will change 3 or 4 times. Fuck yes. Bread rolls should be the way that we define where we are. I think that's like the best way for us to solve most of humanity's problems. I'm doing a review, bread rolls out of sourdough. You know what I mean? Like, just solves everything. You're aware of my current feelings about the regime I live under. That's why I'm staying away from politics. A potato cake, fight me? Potato cake. Rather than a scallop. Are you insane? But okay, no. 2 Aussies are not going to start fist fighting on stream. No. We're not doing that. Bogan, we are not doing that. It's a potato cake in Adelaide. Yeah, it's also a Stobie pole, and you don't have a kebab. Get out of here. Get out. I will divorce you. Yes, the Greeks have euros and the Middle Eastern people have kebabs. And there are Middle Eastern stores and Greek stores, and yet everyone calls it a euros.
Because we have mostly a Greek population.
Yeah, because Adelaide's fine with cultural appropriation. I will divorce you! Anyway, sorry about that. She gets so ridiculous when Adelaide comes up. Oh my God. Anyway, Stephen Salazar, Cao Yon. This was our first Cao Yon list. This was the one that I almost forgot but caught myself. Carter Fireblade, Shadow Sun, Breacher Team, Devilfish, Ghost Kill, Hammerhead, Crew Carnivore, Crutox Riders, Pathfinder, Piranha, Riptide, Skyray, Stealth Suit, Vespid. This is the list you bring home to meet your parents. Like, this is something that, like, their favorite outfit is a nice pair of slacks. And they really like it when the color beige gets brought up in movies. You know, like, they're not vanilla, but they're also not streaking out with a bit of rainbow. You know what I mean? So I'm going to give this one a 1950s out of Tau. I think this list is reliable. It's solid. It's got superannuation and it owns its own home, but it also really thinks that Scrabble is an underrated party game. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, everybody? And for Stephen, that is absolutely not trying to have a shot at you. That was just for the memes and the humor of it. Just because it is a very front to back Tau list that I think does well in every situation. But anyway, not to undercut my own joke, but I don't want anybody to think that I am actually being an obnoxious fuckhead. Okay, so Tony Barrett, Montcar, Shadow Sun Ethereal, and Firesight, Devilfish, Broadsides as a two-man, Ghost Kill, Carnivores, Double Crude Hound, Single Unit Rampages, Riders, Pathfinder, Riptide, Vespid. I think this one is such an interesting one because it includes my boys, my smashy gorillas. So yeah, I'm going to give this a gorilla in a Tau mask out of Tau. I think that the gorillas are trying their best to have hooves and be blue-skinned, and they're fooling everybody by the big fucking Fire Warrior helmets that they've got on. It's a pumpkin latte out of Tau. Oh my God, Stephen, that's perfect. I'm going to adjust Stephen Salazar to a pumpkin latte out of Tau. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, so Trent Mazer going for the Montcar as well. I'm going to give this one a what is your layout out of Tau. Like, reading this and not having it be in like the current GW standard, which once upon a time wasn't even what we used. This is, if I'm not mistaken, this is Battle Scribe outlay. But oh my God, my brain doesn't know how to read this anymore after the layout of kind of everything else. Having it like this where you've got HQ, then battle line, then dedicated transports, then other data sheets, whatever else. This is a why would you do this to me on VAR out of Tau. Still a great list, and I hope he does really well. Best of luck in your run. So then we go to Luke Rolfe, who's got the Kroot Hunting Pack list with the Massed Kroot. I'm going to give this one a Tau Bonding Knife Ritual Orgy out of Tau, because this one is just so many bodies. It is so many bodies writhing on the table, and I think does have the capacity to do incredibly well, but you've got to find your phone and keys among the writhing arms, legs, and gorilla fists. And there's a good chance you get railed, which I know is what you expect, but I don't know if it's everybody's business. That said, if it's not someone's business, they're probably the ones getting railed. And that's why you always got to worry at a Tau Bonding Knife Ritual. Let's actually make that into common nomenclature. If somebody's talking about an orgy or, you know, like a poly group getting together just to like exercise their freedom and rights, you know, oh, we're having a bonding knife ritual. You want to come around and just like catch some of your other Space Marine friends off guard. They get there, put their Space Marines on the table. They're like, all right, let's do this. And you walk out with a massive strap on and you're like, oh, right, let's do this. Obviously, don't do that. Get consent. Like, everybody's 2020 fucking 5. Like, let's just... Okay, anyway, moving on. I just closed down that other list. Fuck! Okay, I'll... wait, can I... I'm not even going to go history. Whatever. Wait, if I Control Z, does it bring it back up? Fuck! All right, whoever's list that was, I'm going to give a Disappeared by the Ethereals for Heresy out of Tau. Because, unfortunately, I did that to you. I'm sorry. I could look back through the names, but it'd take time, and I'm kind of feeling like going out and talking to my little boy, so I'm trying to roast all these players out of Tau. Show history for shame? Fuck no. You think I'm giving the internet that power? Not a chance in hell. All right, Moncar from Jordan Nash, because he's got a beautiful Nash sitting on his top lip. Double Fireblade, double Breacher, double Devilfish, Fire Knife, Hammerhead, Creek Carnivores, Pathfinders, Piranhas, Riptide, Scarray, Stealthsuit. This is just a who's who of the most fuckable data sheets in the Tau list. So I'm going to call this a Maxim out of 10. A Maxim out of Tau. Tau obviously have their own version of Maxim. It's the greatest goodies magazine. So I'm going to give this a greatest goodies out of Tau. This is the magazine you want to look through when you want to see a breach just getting kind of filthy on a unit in the center. But it's not canon that the bonding knife ritual is an orgy. I mean... but it's not canon that it's not an orgy. Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Like, okay, this is my goal. Start YouTubing professionally. Blow up. Get big. Meet GW. Influence the Tau writers and make it so that there is a Tau bonding knife ritual orgy scene. Thoughts? I think that's profit. I think that's as like the best that Tau could possibly do in terms of writing. Like even Phil Kelly would be able to pull that off. Or actually, would Phil Kelly be able to pull it off? Has anyone read any sex scenes from Phil Kelly? Because I don't know if he'd be able to do it justice. Anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole. So yeah, fuckable out of 10. Love it. And Luke Rolf, Jordan Nash, Jason Creppen, Canadian tuxedo, which for everybody who doesn't know what a Canadian tuxedo is, that is all denim. So is he Denim Dan? Is he going to be dressed in all in all denim at the tournament? Jason, if you're still watching and you don't show up in all denim, I swear to God, I'm going to get the internet to bully you into all denim till the end of your days. Like, you have to show up in a Canadian tuxedo. You get that, don't you? Unless there's a reason for it in the list, which I can't claim because I'm Australian. I don't know. Okay, so this one with the Cold Stars, the prototype weapons, the cook for having the Razor Shark backing everything up, I am going to give this an on-she out of Tau. And the reason for that is that it's stolen my heart. On-she out of Tau. 3-piece denim minimum, fucking oath. And if you can, a denim hat. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't. That's right, you can't. Okay, Jason, and everybody that I've mentioned, again, I will say best of luck. If any of you guys interact with any of the people that are going to the World Championship, wish them luck as well. Obviously, it's a massive achievement. Getting a ticket to go to this and then competing against some of the best players in the world in all of the other factions, it is nothing to sneeze at whatsoever. And I will also say this for all you little fucking internet Andes, whether these players go fucking 0 and whatever the number of rounds is, or go 3 and whatever number of rounds is, or go undefeated, all of these guys are incredible players that only went down to people that you could only wish would teach you the game. So wherever these players place, it is a fucking achievement to be here. And they should all be incredibly proud. All right, so Danielle going into Rhett Carter with the double Cold Star. I love that they brought the internal grenade racks. Starside, Sunforge, Carnivore, Crit Hound, Pathfinder, Riptide, Stealthsuit, Vespid. I'm going to give this... I'm going to give this a Kroot Special Forces Strike Team out of Tau. Because you don't expect the Lone Spear and the fucking pack of Kroot Hounds to be running out at you, out of the shadows, and yet here they are when you expected battlesuits. I think that is pretty good. He almost made Shovar and Shosera kiss. Oh boy, no shit. Phil Kelly kind of just went up in my book. All right. New respect. Okay, cool. So that is that. David Clark on Oxcad. Shadow Sun, Broadside, Ghost Kill. Carnivores, Rampages, Pathfinder, Riptide, Skyray, Stealthsuit, Vespid. I'm going to give this one a Donkey Kong out of Tau because I didn't know that Donkey Kong was in the Tower canon. They probably play it as kids. You probably like walk past their little habit capsule things, and you just hear "ooh, banana" as the kids are playing through the new Donkey Kong game. But I love it. I love it. Oxcat is one of my favorites. So yeah, and even at the Crude Alone week, Crude Together Strong. That was David Clark, and then we go on to Durant. We've got Cao Yon with Fireblade, Shadowsun, Breacher, Devilfish, Crew Carnivores, Crew Tox Riders, Pathfinder, Piranha, Riptide, Ghostkill, Hammerhead, Skyray, Stealth Suit, Vespid. This one is a pretty standard front to back Cao Yon list. So I'm going to give this one oh no, don't worry, baby. I didn't Fire Knife bond with him. It was just a one-nighter out of Tau. You know, you're the guy that she eventually comes home to, but you kind of know she's out, almost bonding with a Fire Knife. Blade, not really, but she's thinking about it, but no, she's got to go back. The security's too good. Again, that is just how humor. That is not me trying to throw shade on the player. Hope you do well with the list. Cao Yon is absolutely still a force to be reckoned with. And best of luck. All right. So, the Duck. The Duck. So the Montcar list with the broadside battery, double Ghost Kill, triple Pathfinder, singular Riptide, triple Skyray, Stealth Suit, Vespid. I'm going to give this Nice Army Bro out of Tau. And that's not for Waldark Nice Army Bro. That's him saying that to basically every opponent that fucks around and finds out and gives him any angle to shoot at them. Because this is so much fucking output. I don't know if you guys are like, if you can, go and like put this army together on like TTS or whatever. Have a look at the amount of fucking units that he's got and then roll some dice and just see what dies. Durant is number one. No fucking shit. I haven't looked at rankings in a while. So Durant, this is your rank 1 Tau at the moment. This is what they've brought. Now that is incredibly interesting that the needle is pushed towards Montcar in terms of like what most people have brought. The rank 1 loves his Cao Yon. Fireblade, Shadowsun, Breacher, Devilfish, Carnivores, Riders. And I love the 2-man Riders. I was praising it before when we were looking at the list. But in terms of a unit that can just trade super efficiently, love it. Double Pathfinder, double Piranha, like you were just not going to go wrong with this list. This list, the reason I gave it that rating is because this list is all reliable. This will do everything you want it to. It can adapt to situations. It's got its uppy downy in the Vespid unit, so you're not playing like a complete front to back. But yeah, I honestly, like if this is the sort of list that this guy brings, or well, actually, I don't know if it's guy, but this person brings, then you can guarantee that will be one of the things that brought them to rank 1. Efficiency is such a big deal across tournaments. It really, really is. All right, and then Austin Johnson for our last one for Retaliation Carter. This was the sort of like I say standard Retaliation Carter list. This really is just like what you kind of expect from it. So I'm going to give this one I just joined the Farside Enclaves. I'm so glad to be here. I heard you guys are really good at fighting, right? Oh boy, I'm all piss and vinegar out of Tau. This is exactly what you would expect from the Farside Enclaves. And I really do like, and I hope that I'm right on my thought that Farside is going to flex between the Star Size and the Sun Forges, because I think that is one of our better abilities as Tau, that our commanders can kind of chop and change as we go across the tournament, assuming that their loadouts aren't only good in a specific unit. Like, for example, like the Quad Fusion Blasters, you're never really going to put them with Star Size. You can, and they're not bad. But you do lose something not having the reroll wounds, reroll damage. Because that just means that, especially when you don't have a melter bonus, reroll damage makes it so much more consistent. And as I've said so many times, consistency is king. So piss and vinegar Farsight, new recruit, love it. Absolutely love it. And then he gets there and all the Farsight veterans just roll their eyes because they've been doing this for years and years, son. You better sit down and in your crisis suit and learn what's what. All right. So that is our lists. And I'm just going to open up the rest of the stream for just like a little bit of chatting, a little bit of answering questions if anybody has anything. If anybody does have any particularly good questions, I am going to be doing a shorter YouTube video review of all this stuff. And if you've got any like really good questions, I will include those in a special section at the end of the video. So, yeah, Old Faithful Earthcast list out of 10. Fuck yes, I also love that. Fetch Daddy another beer list. If I had more time to cook it, I would take Cao Yon too. I thought the duck might have been Walduck. Everybody please wish Walduck best of luck in his run. Yeah, Cao Yon, I think there were so many people, and I don't know if you saw the same thing, where our army rule changes and Cao Yon has to change. With the change we had, sustained hits 2 was just not plausible. We saw when Orcs got their detachment and sustained hits 2 was everywhere. They were fucking everywhere and dominating every tournament. It would have been horrible. And then everybody's like, oh, it's only sustained hits 1, it's ignore mods, it's not good, it's blah, blah, blah. But like Cao Yon... I made the joke about the other lists about like, you know, they're the guy with a nice pair of slacks and enjoys the color beige that sits at home owning his own home with a superannuation and whatever. But it really is that, because it does everything it does extremely efficiently. And while it might not be flashy and it might not have the tricks that Oxcad does or the extreme pressure that like Montcar can put down, it just, like, anybody who says that Cao Yon is not good, I think is either, like, a bad actor that just wants to troll people or push an opinion or whatever, or they don't know enough about the game and shouldn't be saying that something's good or bad. Because, like, Cao Yon has never been bad, in my opinion. And it's only gotten better with the change to guiding. Yes, it doesn't have sustained hits too, but for the entire game, you have a better guiding system. So it actually made everything it does a little bit better and gets you to turn 3 a little bit better. Or if you've got the Exemplar of the Cao Yon, I'm trying to remember, did I see a Cao Yon list that took Exemplar? We didn't. Because the best Exemplar of the Cao Yon holder is a commander with a Fire Knife squad. And I don't remember seeing Exemplar. That to me is the most interesting thing, because that enhancement solo carried my early game when I went double Tiger Shark and had a fucking awesome run at a GT. Obviously, it was before Tiger Sharks got changed, so if anybody's sitting there like, oh my god, Tiger Sharks are back in the meta, no, we still have the you can't shoot the turn you come in. This was for that glorious like 2 weeks that we were allowed to do it. But yeah, no Exemplar. But I think, honestly, I think that speaks to the Cao Yon with the army rule change got that much better, because now you're not so desperate for the sustained at turn 2. You just play your front to back Tau. You do everything you do better than you did before. Tau shooting, like, I've made this joke, but I think I actually want to do this. I want to do a challenge where, like, I go to a tournament, but I play without ever using a detachment rule. And see how far I can get, because I genuinely think that Tau is good enough that unless I'm playing, like, I couldn't do it at, like, a World Championship or at Masters or anything like that, because I get fucking bodied. But for people that are like Tau, are nothing without their detachment rules, I actually kind of disagree with that. And this falls on the back of me. My hopes for 11th was full of like, I want my data sheets to include keywords and whatever else and not be reliant on their detachment. But people sometimes don't understand what it's like being on the other side of the table from a Tau player, especially a good Tau player. Like, when anything that looks at you has a capacity to do crippling damage from range, and we have some of the best shooting in the game. Like, yes, I know that when you start stacking stuff up, Space Marines are incredibly good, or Eldari, or whatever, but, like, we are still good, even without a detachment rule. And I think Cao Yon shows that better than anything. Cao Yon players don't give up their turn 1 and 2. It's not a detachment where you do fucking nothing until turn 3. Like I said earlier in the stream, you get a compensation for having to trade early, for having to still play the game, and you get a little bit better. Giga Chad with no detachment rule or strats. I don't know if I could win without strats. That would be an interesting one. I think that would be the hardest version of the challenge, to just go and just use the army rule and datasheet rules. Though having said that, I think if you take something like, if I would go, okay, let's cook this out. If I were going to do it, I think that it would have to be on Montcar or Cao Yon. Oxcat and Experimental Carter both have a lot of their power locked behind stratagems. And in a way, Oxcat, I think the army rules, the detachment rule is quite good too, because that buffs your Crute. And I think that specific detachment doesn't work in the way that the designers intended, or might not work at all if you can't do that, especially when you get into good players. Bad players, I could body with any detachment, it doesn't really matter, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like a GT run, or in a worst case scenario, if I couldn't get into a GT, or I'm going for like rankings or whatever, and I do have to start looking at that because like I had a kid, I haven't played a tournament in longer than I would like. You're not going to do it there. But anyway, I think Montcar or Cao Yon are the way that I would go. Because Montcar, you get Assault and Lethal Hits, which is a very, very good early set of buffs. Yes, you fall off later, but if I've done the damage I need to, then who cares? And Cao Yon, because, well, you're kind of playing what Cao Yon does anyway. And really, what are you spending your CP on Cao Yon? You're getting the, spend for guiding when already guided, whatever. I'm assuming that's still stackable. I don't remember if GW FAQ'd that. If anybody knows off the top of their head, chuck it in chat. But then you're like marking an objective and getting +1 to wound. You're getting and this is the thing I don't like about Cao Yon, is that the stratagem that is also locked to turn 3 is also locked to within 9 inches, which I do get. Like later in the game, you are pretty close to your opponents, but there are some times where I need the AP just wherever I need it, and other things just kind of do that better. Especially with some of the codex releases we've had where other people's detachments just kind of let you do it, like without all of the conditionals that go there. But I think the detachment rule for, actually, I just realized, what the fuck am I doing? I haven't slept a lot, so give me a break. But yeah, so detachment doesn't matter for them. The thing I should be talking about is what units would I want to take. And I think Stealth Suits Riptides are probably non-negotiable for that, with the position that they're in at the moment. I don't mind Breaches. And this is what I was talking about before. The Breaches are great standalone units that don't need a detachment to flourish. They, with your guiding system, they already hit on 3s, go to 2s, reroll wounds when you're in range of an objective. The gun, strength 6, AP 1, damage 1 is amazing. I don't need much more from them in terms of trading. So, yeah. The Immortal Tower didn't give a fuck about +6 when I took it. That is true, but without -1 to wound and healing, I think the Immortal Tower list loses a little bit. Though it does need to be said that, like, 2-up armor, T9 or T8, I guess, for the ghost kills, and then the invulnerable saves and all the other layers they've got before you start adding strat support or detachment rule, those both still do a fair amount of carrying. And I guess that's the balance that we're talking about here, right? Is that I love Breaches for the offensive output because they don't rely on that. And Riptides, the reason why I say they're an auto-include is that Riptides can exist without a detachment rule, using the army rule quite effectively, and not like really needing anything else to be a functional unit. I also think Fire Knives are great for that, because on the data sheet they get rerolls to hit, which means you've got your 3s, your ignore cover, bang, you hit people, and the missile pods are still very, very good. And then I think it'd just be a shitload of scoring. I think Triptide, double Skyray, 2 units of Stealth Suits, a couple of Breaches. I think you need Fireblades in them if you're not going to have any strat support or no detachment rule. And you just use those guys as your Warlord. Do I go a Commander with Fire Knife? I don't know. We'd have to do a session where we're actually building out the list properly. But yeah. If there's any other questions, send them through. But that has been my review of every list going to the World Championship of Warhammer. And I do want to say, again, a massive, massive congratulations to every player that made it this far, and a best of luck, and we're rooting for you from the Tau community. even the shitheads that say stupid stuff online. But best of luck. Do us proud. The greater good is with you. And yeah, one thing I do want to look at, one of the players from my local, Josh Brody, is going. I'm curious what he is taking. Where did I see his name before? Did I go past it? There we go. So he's gone for Space Marines. I'll be shocked if he's not on the new Raven Guard detachment. Yep, Shadow Mark Talon. So we've got Athan Shan, Captain with Jump Pack with Hunter's Instincts, Caven Shrike, Lieutenant with Combi Weapon. This is like the best fucking model in the game, honestly. Everything this guy has is like, he's like a mini Ghost Kill with a reactive move. It's kind of fucking nuts. Obviously, he doesn't have the shooting output that the Ghost Kill does, but yeah. Were there any Storm Surges? Yes, there was a Storm Surge and a Sun Shark in, would you believe it, Retaliation Carter. Absolutely fucking wild, Cook. Intercessor Squad, Assault Intercessors with jump packs. He's just going for the 5-man so far as I can see. Yep. Centurion Devastators. So this is just a unit that pops down and fucks everything. Inceptors in 6-man. He's gone for Assault Bolters and Plasma Exterminators. Vanguard Vets with jump packs, Vanguard Vex with jump packs, and then a Calidus Assassin. So this list is very slim in the number of units that it's got, but it is very tricksy and it trades extremely effectively. Yeah, I'm keen to see how Shadowmark does, because as far as I've seen from like data and statistics from early releases, this detachment has been pretty fucking cracked. And like stuff coming out and being good and being strong is absolutely great. But I think Shadowmark is probably on the chopping block to get a couple of changes. But yeah. Lord Hestia, how you doing, buddy? I know it's not Battle Sector, but welcome to the stream. Kind of want to see it like watching a car accident in slow motion. Yeah, the Storm Surge list with the Sun Shark is a thing. It's surely a thing. Lots of uppy downy there. Yes, there is. Very, very tricksy. I don't care. It's still Warhammer. Fucking based, dude. Based as fuck. 65 points left in the list. Second unit of Vespid or second Carnivore Squad. It'd be a second unit of Vespid. Absolutely second unit of Vespid. Hi, just hopped on. Am I too late? I never rewatched the stream. Unfortunately, Toasted Maple, you do. Though I will be chopping together a best of and putting it up on YouTube. But I would actually highly recommend rewatching. The VOD will be available immediately on YouTube, so you can watch it there. I would highly recommend watching all the way through, because there was some really, really good information that I was trying to glean out about how I think players will go. We had a couple of the players actually join us in chat, and they had some thoughts and some insights into their own stuff. So if you've got the time and got the energy, then I would highly recommend watching the entire thing. Before we close out, everybody, just want to say two things. The first is that I will likely be streaming some Battle Sector later on tonight, so make sure that you follow the channel or my Twitch. Actually, it'll probably just be on Twitch, so if you're on YouTube, there are links to my Twitch right now in the description. Go and follow that so you get notifications when I go live. And I also want to say a massive thank you to all of my patrons and YouTube members who make every video possible. Get a bunch of extra stuff like coaching from me, access to the Discord, a whole bunch of other perks. If you would like to join them, then from $5 a month, you get access to the Discord. And once you're in, you don't get removed unless you do something shitty enough to make me kick you. And I haven't had to do that, and that feels fucking amazing. I love my community. Did I miss the whole stream? Unfortunately, Hestia, you did. Yeah, we've been going for 2 hours now. Damn. Bogan, thank you so much for gifting a sub to Loopy. I really appreciate it. Did you see this question? I may have missed it. Thoughts on Shadow Sun's value when brought alongside stealth suits? I think the Shadow Sun is just broadly useful. Like, she's not an auto take, but Eric S, thank you for the YouTube sub. She's not an auto take, but when you're building a list, there are certain moments that are absolutely great to jam Shadow Sun in. She has a couple of benefits. The first is that she is lone op, so she can be very tricksy with her positioning. She can fill screening gaps that nobody else could stand in but like a Ghost Kill. And because she's got such a small base, She can fit in areas that you might not want to put a ghost keel in. She's infantry, so she can run through walls. She's -1 to hit with stealth and -1 to wound from shooting. With her guardian drone or whatever a special drone's called. A little bit of CP gain back on a 5+ is nice, though I would prefer, because she's our Supreme Commander, that she got the ability that we've seen from like Marines and whatever, which is like pick a unit within 6, 9, or 12 or whatever it is, and reduce their CP cost by 1. I think that would fit her ability much better. You can kind of see that she was written very early in the edition before they changed some of her stuff. But yeah, I think that times when you don't want to take Shadow Sun is when the 100 points can serve you better with something that just does everything she does but better, or you need things like damage, commanders to buff up your crisis suits, you need to fill in more scoring stuff, and you've already got a warlord. Like you saw, and this is something that I've been coming to as well, like Hayden went for single ethereal. There are a bunch of other lists that just went for an ethereal. And that, I think, is going to be something that you're going to see more and more, because cheap HQs allow you to put more into the units you actually care about, where at the moment, like, assassinate might not be a massive problem, but if all your points are in characters and they get precisioned out, your units get gummed up, or the units they have to join aren't as good, then you're really spending a lot of points for not as much as you would like. Whereas all of your other units provide a huge amount of value or utility or damage or whatever it might be. So Shadow Sun is still fantastic, and I don't think anybody that excluded her or included her is doing anything wrong. I think there is a time and place, and that kind of is a great design space to be in, really. Fireblades get murked. I mean, Fireblades, I think, because breaches aren't prominent in the meta at the moment, are on that lower end of useful. And I kind of get why not everybody's been taking them. But yeah. All right. With that, anybody that came in late, there's a VOD on YouTube, will be available immediately. I am going to go and spend some time with my beautiful little boy and put up with his mother. Oh, she didn't hear me. I couldn't get in trouble. I have to repeat the joke so she can slap me and yell at me. But that's everything from me. Thank you so much for joining us. Members of the Talvar, best of luck to everybody who's going to the World Championship of Warhammer. It's been wonderful speaking to you, and I'll see you in the next one.